Well, with Gary Roberts, Chief Constable, we've just had the Police Awards ceremony. We're back here at the Villa Marina Arcade. It's always very interesting to watch it all, sitting through it all. How many different things are crossing your desk, and obviously the police in general, but not necessarily all of them hit the headlines. And yet everyone's doing quite a good job, it looks like.
And there are people who think it's wrong of me to celebrate success in the constabulary, and there are people who think that we pat ourselves on the back and that's no recommendation. Well, if people had heard today some of the citations I read out, complete sheer courage that officers have shown, brilliant work they've done with victims and survivors of long-term abuse, of sexual abuse, work that they've done with people who are really vulnerable because of their mental health. It's right that we should say how good it is, but it's also right that ordinarily the public shouldn't know about these things, because often many of these things are private. But the work that happens every single day of the week, often by very young police officers, is exemplary, and I feel it my duty to recognise that and to reward them in the best way I can, which is to celebrate the success that they've shown.
We touched on the sexual abuse thing, and that's become massive, hasn't it? I know, and we can't really talk about the thing that's going through at the moment on your committee thing, but how much of your time now is being spent on those sort of cases? Because so many people are coming up and getting citations.
There are, as of today, there are about 25 live, non-recent sexual abuse investigations.
It's historic stuff.
Yeah, so non-recent we say is over a year old. Right. And there are about another half a dozen that are going through the court process. So that's about 30. I've got a handful of officers who do that. Now today there was one particularly big award where we recognised about 8 people. That was a team that provided support around victims who were abused by one man. So one offender, it's taken a team of 8 or 9 people to get that man convicted and sent to prison for the long time that he deserved. And people don't see that, and it's right that the public don't see that.
Obviously, drugs seem to play another part in both possession, but also people's behaviours, and you having to restrain them and all sorts of things.
Well, you have a nexus of drink and drugs and mental health, and there are people in crisis. Sometimes the drink and drugs make it worse, but sometimes the drink and drugs have caused it. But sometimes they're just mentally ill, and they're trying to cope with the situations they find themselves in. And police officers occasionally find themselves in real danger. You know, 2 of the officers there, Paddy Moore and Mike Griffiths, who are well-known officers, who are brave, very decent men, you know, they put themselves at extreme risk to save somebody whose life was in imminent danger. They didn't think about it, they just did it because that's what they do.
Okay, well, let's just talk on the lines now, your budgetary and that sort of thing. You're talking there with Home Affairs, Mr Malarkey. What sort of relationship have you got? Because you're always saying that everything's been cut back and that sort of thing. Where are you up to these days?
The politicians have their job to do, and I have my job. Minister Malarkey and I have had a lot of dialogue lately about the constabulary, and we are stretched in ways that are different. So offending's changing, use of technology's changing, all these things make our job more complex. And officers who should be in neighbourhoods providing support and dealing with community stuff before it becomes a big issue are often not there now. So the Minister and I are having dialogue about how best we can explain that to other politicians and to the Treasury so that we can look at what the force might look like in the future.
Like a politician yourself saying you're having dialogue, which means you want more money or they want to cut you back.
Of course I want more money, but I'm as mindful as anyone that there is not much money to be had. But we're seeing some awful things in the UK, and those things are happening because of a reduction in the police. So young men stabbing each other in the streets in London actually has a link with the Isle of Man in terms of the reduction of police activity and the reduction of police numbers leads to consequences, and those consequences are often tragic. Here we haven't got to that, but there has been a reduction in numbers and there is an increase in crime and an increase in offending because of that.
Now, how have you done with getting people to move over here? Because you've been actively trying to get people from the forces to come here. You've obviously got people retiring and that sort of thing. Is it going all right, or we still need more?
We will recruit as much as we can and officers as we can from the Isle of Man. But there will be a continuing programme of recruitment from the UK to bring in people with skills, because my training budget is pretty low, but also to bolster what's a very young organisation. So consequence of lots of people retiring, joining in the 70s, 80s and 90s, they're all retiring and they're going. So the young people we've got are great, and they are a cut above what I was like when I was their age, but they need support from experienced people. So every year we'll bring in more people from the UK.
Are you getting that response?
We're getting great response. We've brought in some brilliant transferee officers, in fact some on the stage there today. But we'll keep doing that. But there's a fine line, because we can't change the culture of the organisation, because if we ship too many people from the UK, they bring with them the values and the style of UK policing, which isn't Isle of Man policing. So we have to be very careful about that.
Interesting thought, yeah, so you don't want to dilute your particular gene pool in that sense.
We align them to what our values are rather than us taking their values. That's the critical bit, really.
Okay, well, talk about retirement. How are you doing? Are you going anytime soon?
Well, when I started this job, I had quite a bit of hair. I haven't got much hair left now. I'm in my second contract now, so this is my final contract, and I'll have to retire at the end of that because that's what the law says.
So when's that?
So that will be 2022, so it's a little way off yet.
Oh, so a few more of these to go.
Yeah, unless I get really fed up.